Yonggan, I think we can get started.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to say something first?
No, I just would like to thank you once again for hosting the seminar with us and for being a MBC BioLabs partner.
Thank you, Fluffy. And then I will start by introducing myself. And my name is Yonggan Wu. I'm the relationship advisor manager here at the Labii. So for today, I'm going to give you guys some updates and of course also include like how can you guys using our platform and then some basic use case. And then I will start by introduce our company a little bit. And our company is Labii ELN LIMS. And then we start in 2014 from the Stanford University. Right now we're located in South San Francisco. And then we specialized providing the service of electronic lab notebook and the LIMS system. Right now there are more than 300 companies are currently using us. And then we also have the partnership with the MBC BioLabs and the QB3 to provide the ELN and the LIMS to all about tech startups in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then there's most of our customers are the pharmaceutical companies in the middle-sized company. And then what we did is that we changed our platform a little bit is that we already integrate this kind of ELN and the LIMS together into the one same platform. So basically, like we think all the research data actually, like all the data generated in the lab can be separated into the structured data and the unstructured data. Actually, the structured data can be like stored inside the columns or stored inside a Excel table. So in a Labii system, we use a column to store this kind of data. And then there's other type of data is called unstructured data. So this type of data can be any pictures or Word documents or whatever files you generated. And then we in the Labii, we use the section to store this type of data. So I will give you one quick example. For example, if we have one of the experiment, then this experiment can have many different columns. For example, you want to document and for example, the data start and the data end of this experiment. You can also have many different kind of unstructured data, like the sections. For example, the first one, you can document the overview. What's the purpose of this experiment? The procedures that are being used, some kind of tabular data you can upload it into, like, for example, the Excel files can be uploaded to this section. And then the other files can be uploaded directly, for example, the PDFs, the pictures, the Word document, the Excel files, all can be loaded over here. And then there's also a signature part, which means like you guys can co-sign with each other. So that's basically and like as an example of the experiment. And then go further, if you notice, actually over here, because like every single of the column or section, the functionalities are different. So in the Labii system, we develop something called a widget. So we use the widget to extend the functionalities. So think about widgets is more like the apps in your smartphone. Like also we all using similar smartphone. We all happy with it because we're using different apps. So similarly in the research area, different kind of research lab, they have different kind of requirements. So to meet the requirement of every single lab, we use these widgets. So the widget can be just displayed as here, like when there's some data, you use a widget to display the data, and then you also use a widget to edit the data. And then once you finish editing, you can save the data back to the database. So one of the example I can show you guys, like in our systems that we commonly used, like for example, there's a date widget, and then it will show you current date. But if you click the edit, you can change the date to some other date. Once you finish changing, just click OK, and then the data will be updated in the system directly. So this is just one quick demonstration of what's this kind of widget. And then in case of the tables, and then we use like table means like how are we used to store one type of data. So with this case, we already remove the boundary between the ELN and the names or other inventory. Like for example, you can create as many tables as you want. If you have the experiment table, protocol table, and a files table, this will become a ELN. Or if you trying to do the sample testing, sequencing, genetic engineering, like you want to check in different kind of workflow, this will become a LIMS system. And of course, you can manage all the samples, reagent, equipment, other things, and then this will become inventory. So just based on your guys' research need, you can just add as many tables as you want. And then the first thing I want to just go into it a little bit more detail is about electronic lab notebook. As we see, like it will contain the experiment, protocol, and the files table. Each of the table will have its own columns and sections. So with that, I can just jump into a live demo that I showed over here. On this screen is actually our dashboard. And then if you want to check one of the experiments is being stored over here. So all the tables like listed in the middle is actually corresponding to all the tables that listed over here. So I will just go into the experiment table directly. Actually, I already have one experiment being created. So once I click it open, it will give me all the details about it. So on default, it's open inside the list section view. This section view is this kind of section view as you see over here. And then so let me go through it very quickly. Like for example, the first one, the widget we're using is more like a rich text editing, and then it can totally replace the Word document you guys are using. You can just import the data by just drop the files into this cloud icon, or you can click it to import it. It supports all different kind of formatting, tables, pictures. It also supports the mentioning functions directly inside the system. So that's the first section. The section follow with it is the steps. Like over here, like you can put in the procedures. You can check in which step already finished, which step still need to be done step by step. So all of this detail can be seen directly over here. And then moving on, if you have the result need to be documented inside the text, that can be done over here, just like this. Or like if you like some data is more like tabular data, and then it also supports the pictures. So whatever you can working with your Excel file, you can use this kind of functions directly. And then a lot of time, like many labs, they just want the system to be really easy to use. So the way they prefer to do is like they finish all the Word document, Excel document, all the pictures in the local, and then just drop the files into our system. So also that can be done with this kind of files widget. You can upload a PDF. It can display the PDF directly for you. You can upload an Excel file. And then once you upload it, you can actually change it very conveniently by clicking this edit button. So the interface will change. You can just modify it. And after you change it and click the save, the good thing about our system is that it can save a new version. So all the changes will be captured inside the system. So similarly, if you have a picture, we also have the integrated functions enable you to change this picture directly. Like for example, if you want to add a notation, just simply click this edit button. So with that, you can just jog it to a particular location, make it bigger, and then you can choose in different kind of colors. For example, if I change it into the red color, then it will give me the pencil. I can draw or add annotation to it, or I can add a text to it directly. And then very similarly, it also supports the CSV or other different data types, the Word document as well. Whenever you see over here, if you just click it, it can be changed directly. The interface will change. So the idea I trying to deliver to you, just this platform is very easy to use. And then whenever you have file, just drop it into the system. You can just change it as the ways that you used to. And then to upload the files, very similar, just drop the files over here. And then at the last is the signature part. So you can co-sign it with your colleagues directly over here. And then so this is the detail. So what I just said before is unstructured data. If we want to see what's the structured data about this experiment, you can click this column field. So once you click it, it will give you all this kind of basic information in this table format. For example, when you start using doing this experiment, when this experiment is finished, and then you can also add additional metadata to it. So that's basically about the ELN part. Of course, it also comes with the protocol. So I will skip the protocol part, but basically the idea is the same. So the way we design it, we just want to make it as simple as possible, which means as long as you know how to using one of the table, like you can carry the same idea and then it can be applied to all other tables as well. So this is everything about ELN, and that's the majority of people they're using our system for. Besides that, and then we can kind of customize it. Like for example, many labs, they need to do a lot of ELISA data analysis. And then with that, like they can just, like previously, all these sections is basically the same. But if they just change the widget into a different widget, for example, if they change to include with a ELISA widget to do the ELISA standard curve, or they can do the dot response curve with a DRC widget. So that can be done directly in the system as well. And then it will just looks like this. So in one of a particular section, you can just paste the layout, paste the value, and then click the analysis. It will give you the final result directly inside the system. So that's one other use. And then and then similarly, like the inventory is one other reason people using it a lot. And then inventory it actually includes a lot of tables, like for example, samples, reagent, equipment. You can also use in location to check in where do you store the sample. But there's too many tables, so I did not list all the tables. But I just want to give you a little bit of some case. Like for example, you can use the sample relationship to checking how the samples like move from one stage to the other stage. For example, if you have a blood sample, you shed DNA, it will become DNA. And then to prepare the PCR, it will become a library, and then you can using it to do the sequencing. So all of these can be displayed directly. You can link different samples all together. So this enable all different samples to share the metadata directly inside the system. And then similarly, if you're trying to check in how sample is being used or how the reagent is being used, and you can check in the sample consumption. So this will give you two different views. If you're looking at the experiment, so this experiment, you want to say how much sample you're going to use. Like, so you can just continually add one by clicking this new consumption. You need to tell the system how much you're using. And then once you finish this part, and the good thing about if you're looking back, actually this sample is clickable. If you're looking back, looking at the sample, you're able to see exactly how many experiments is using it and how it's being consumed. And then inside the sample, it actually can do the automatic calculation to tell you how much is left. Like for example, maybe this one totally have 100. After all of this, only 30 left. And then you can also get a notification said this sample is running low or this reagent is running low. You need to order it directly. So this is the second usage. The third one is actually we have some widget scheduling functions. Like for example, if you have a equipment, you can attach this widget to your equipment directly. And then you can just say this much time, this people is using it, other time, other people is using it. This function can also be used like particularly at this time during the pandemic. You can use it to schedule a different kind of office, different kind of labs. Say like at this time, you only allow 2 people inside the lab. So you can just schedule inside the system directly. So this is about the scheduling. And then the last one is about the location map. The location map can help you indicate where do you store the different kinds of items. Like for example, this is kind of well plate. Once I open it, I'm able to see what kind of things is being stored inside. And then with that, let me just give a very quick demo about that part. So I will open just one of the samples. And then when I'm looking at the sample, it can similarly just open the first view on default is a column view. So it can give me all the columns that are created for this particular sample. And then you may notice all the columns very different to what we see before compared to the notebook. Like it can checking totally how many volumes. It can do the automatic calculation on how much volume left. And then which protocol you're using, which experiment is being involved, where location does it stored, and of course everything is clickable, which means like different data is linked together. So when I click it, you're able to see all the QR code, different kind of widgets being displayed. You can always click it or print it out. You can also add a label it, which means like you can print out the label and then add it to YouTube directly. You don't need to handwriting it. Over here is showing you where is this kind of location. Like for example, I have this 96-volt box that's stored in this -80 freezer, in which lab, in which building, so that all can be built inside the system directly. And then looking into these 96 wells, you will able to see which well is already filled in, which well is still empty. So that's about where it's being stored. And then similarly, if you click the sections, you're able to see like the labels about it, the QR code about it, how the sample is being used, and then it's all linked together. If you want to attach the workflows, that's also can be done, like to do some particular testing. And then at the bottom, I want to show you the consumption history. Like it said, these 2 experiments is using it. You're able to see it directly. But if you click this experiment, it can show you back inside of this experiment, this sample is being used and the 10 ml. So that's about the inventory part. And then next part I want to go into deep is about the sample testing. So The limbs is kind of difficult to define, but it can be used for many different purposes. And then the most often purpose being used is for the sample testing. And over here, there's a workflow that I built as an example. So it can have many different steps. Like for example, when you start connecting samples, and then you start accessing sample, like put the data inside the system, and then you can process it and choosing different tests or different assays. And then to just document the raw data, you can do the quality control to make sure the data meet the requirement. If not the requirement, you need to go back to do the testing again. And then if it passed, and then do further step to do the data analysis. And then once the analysis is finished, you can generate the report, and then whether it needs to be approved or not. And then finally, sample disposal, like whether you want to continue to keep the sample or not. And then all of this UI, the workflow UI, can be built and customized by yourself. And on the right side, it can actually just walking through each of the steps. And then it can give you this kind of workflow, some basic description, what you need to do. You can also attach a protocol to it. And then you can mark one step as complete. Once it's complete, it will show you as this green color. If not complete, it will show you in other color. And then you can also define who can do which step. For example, maybe for the result approval, only the managers can do it. So if you don't have permission to do it, and you are not able to see this complete button. So with that, I can also give you a live demo. So I will just go to the testing tables. So let's say testing I already created as a demo, and then you are able to see all this workflow in real time. And actually it can pick up the most recent steps that I need to do, and each of the step is clickable, and I'm able to see different details. And some of these like can tell you exactly what you need to do. For example, you need to document the raw data, and then you can open it. Actually, for the researchers, they just open it and say, okay, this is a step I need to do. There's already one result attached, but if they want to attach some other result, and then just attach it. So which means inside the system, like each step can guide you what you need to do, or sometimes if you need to send an email, that also can be done. And with all of this finished, like for example, there's a result approval. Oh, I want to show you maybe the generate the report. So you can still open it, and then it can show you like how to add a report directly. And then it give you the interface. Okay, what's this report about? And just fill in all the informations. And then also like everything can be managed with the first section, but actually all the result is being captured directly with other sections as well. For example, how many samples being used for this testing, what's the raw result, what's the analysis result, everything can be seen directly from here. And then similarly, like we can link to a report directly to this testing. So let me go to find the report. So let's say report. So when I open this report, I'm able to see similarly, in case the column data is just said, this report is associated with this particular testing. And then if I click the section view, it can give you the details about this report. Like for example, if you include this testing, which order it's coming from, which sample you're using, and then when you started doing it, when it's finished, which assay are you using to finish this testing, like who is the performance, and like basic information all can be seen from here. You can also use this kind of, this widget is called section citation. It can display the data from one other testing. So like the result can be displayed inside here directly. And then with this, you can actually just print it out and then share it with your customers or colleagues directly. And then you can also download it as a PDF. So, and everything is customizable. So that's how you're able to do a sample testing. And then moving on is for the CRISPR gene editing. And then it's also being used a lot. Actually, like you can customize every single step. Usually it's being started by design and synthesis gRNA, and then you want to do the transfection, and then enrichment, and then confirmation of the edit, and then finally downstream analysis. So just build this kind of workflow directly inside the system. And then many of the workflows that I showed with you today, and it will be like pre-configured, which means in the future, maybe it should be like within this month, it will be available to you. Like you guys just need to install it. And then you are able to use this kind of workflow directly inside the system. And similarly, it can be used for the molecular cloning. So over here, like when you prepare the filter and then insert the preparation, you do ligation, transformation, and finally you got the cloning screening. And then each of step, if you want to put more detail, as you can see on the right side, like for example, for one particular step, it can tell you exactly detail how you want to do it. And then just click complete once you finish one particular step. And then, of course, like the other workflow can also be used. For example, the deep sequencing. And the thing I do know is that from my own experience is that every lab, the workflow is different. Even for the same kind of steps, the workflow is totally different. So we enable you to customize it just based on your own needs. So this is one of the example of the customization. It's in a great level of the detail from the stage 1 to all the way like final approval. Like every time, like in every different kind of situation, how it need to be handled. So every single step have its own functions associated with it. It's a data need to be approved. Like for example, it's like send out an email to the QA auditor to review. When QA auditor receives it, they need to review it. If it does not pass it, we need to go back again. So all of that you can build to manage the whole complete workflow inside your lab. And then besides the LIMS, Labii can also be used. So based on our design, can also be used for the chemical registration. So many labs, like especially like they are developing some pharmaceutical chemicals, so that can be done. Like for example, in case of designing, in the columns you can put in the CAAs, what's the molecular formula, the molecular weight associated with it. If you want to see the structure about it, you can display the smells and the molecular structure. And then in case of the section, like we also provide a Marvin-JS widget to enable you to change the molecular structure as well. So here's the screenshot. Like for example, this is the aspirin, and then I'm able to get the molecular formula. And the good thing about our function is that everything is automatic. Actually, you don't need to just find this molecule and type it in. When you click this edit button, based on the name, actually our system can automatically search the molecular formula for you. And then once you get a molecular formula, if you click this button over here, it can calculate the molecular weight and find the smell structure and associate the molecular structure directly for you. So everything is very convenient inside the system. And then in case of section, you are able to see there's a molecular structure functions, which means you can draw whatever kind of molecular structure. And we also support the substructure search and the similarity search of the structure directly inside the system. So that's the second usage. And then the other one, actually, the Labii can go further to use as a project manager. Like for example, like if you have a lot of tasks, like many jobs can be created, goals can be created, projects can be created. This all can be linked all together. Like for example, if you are a CRO, you need to manage all different kind of things, different customer, and then you can just create a task. Like today on this particular time, I need to do this. The task can be all associated with the experiment or the protocols or the samples. So every day you just need to check in how much tasks I need to do or how much jobs I need to do. And also some company, like every year they will create the company goals. And then you want to know, okay, this experiment is for this company goals. That experiment is for other goals. So you can associate all the experiment with some particular goals. So by the end of the year, you can do a summary of the report. That can tell you very clearly a message of like how is lab been doing. So I'm not going into too much details about this project manager. And then one other thing that people also using it a lot is actually can be configured to as the customer relationship manager. So this can be seen just like this. For example, you can create accounts to store many different companies. The contact is the contact person from this company. And the meeting is like how many meetings you have with the company and the orders they place, the quote or the invoice you guys prepared. And it can look like this. This is an example. So like for every time when the customer come in, you need to follow some particular steps. So you can also build a workflow to see how to handle the customers. Every single step, you can follow it to do something or send out an email. And then inside this detail, you can also see the contact. You can just add a contact. All the contact associated to this account can be seen directly from here. What the tasks you need to do for this particular customer. Do you need to follow up? Do you need to like finish the invoice? Or that can be just created inside the task. What are jobs associated with it? Like for example, to finish some kind of notes. And then after that, you can also document every single meeting. What's the conversation you have with this particular customer? So that all can be done. What's the deal you already closed? So since that's the way, the functions that are used over here is called a backlink, which means you can link all the different kind of data into one same section, and then you're able to just overview different details in one of the nodes directly inside. And then besides that, we also have the reference manager. We do know like people using reference manager a lot, but when people is asking, can Labii be used as a reference manager as well? So the answer is yes. So you just need a little bit of configuration. And actually currently in the Labii, we already include this one. Like as long as you add this table, this configuration will be just added for you on default. So basically you will have many different columns and then one or two sections. The columns include, you have a PMID, and then to a column to document the journal, the volume of this journal, and then the issues, the pages, who is the authors, the pub data, PMC, and maybe just full paper URL, all different kind of things can be put in. And then after that, in case of the sections, you can put in one of these called abstract. So this can actually, it can go to the NCBI and download the abstract for you. And then you can also attach the full text, like as a PDF. And so this is the example of the screenshot. For example, there's one paper, and then it will tell you exactly which journal it's coming from, which volume, which issue. But of course, it's very tedious to just type in all this data. So the Labii actually coming with the function, you don't need to type it in. As long as you have this PMID, just click this button, it will sync with the PubMed directly and download all this information for you. So it's very convenient. And moving on, this is like the section view of this paper. Like you're able to see the summaries and all different kind of things. And of course, this summary, you only need to have one button and then just click it. If you are not seeing the summary, whenever you click it, it can download it directly. Actually, it can detect the PMID column and then use the PMID to download the abstract. And then next to it is the full text. You can attach any PDF files or any different things. So if you want to go further, you can also add some comments or different kind of thing notes. Like say in this paper, which information is very helpful, you can just write the notes out of it. And also in the future, we will just add the annotation to this PDF, which means you can just annotate the PDF directly inside the system. So that's how you're able to manage different papers. And then one other case, and actually maybe you just use it for some of the lab, like they want to use the Ontology. Why they are using Ontology? This is because a lot of terms people are using, like for the data analysis, they want the terms to be unified. So everyone's using the same term. You don't want using M for male and some other just using MAL, but the term if the term is not unified, and then it's kind of difficult to do the analysis. So you can also like put in this kind of ontology into the system and then use the same term. And then with that, you can, the columns that you have, for example, you will have the ontology ID, you can build your own ontology. What's the alternative IDs? What's the parent about? What's the synonyms? What other references associated with it? It can also build this OWL tree for you. So let me show you. And then this is one of the disease ontology. And then there's one kind of diseases. Actually, from the top to down, it gives you this kind of tree. In the Labii, we will also build this tree for you from the diseases to the disease by infections agent, so all the way up. So it can tell you, like the terms we're looking at is this one, but it's a parent side. Each of these contain these like ontology IDs. So you are able to walk through to find the terms directly over here. And then, of course, there's some other usages. And then one of the usage actually being like, especially during the pandemic, and this can be used for other things. Like many of our customers actually moving during the last year, they're moving from one location to the other location. And traditionally, they just need to carry all different notebook, but with our system, the moving is so much easier for them. They even don't need to worry about it. Like they just go to the new office and then just open the computer, or the notebook is still there. So that's definitely one of the usage. They're using it a lot. One other thing is like during the pandemic, people working remote a lot, like the difficulties will come, like previously people need to co-sign with each other, which means they need to see the actually physical notebook and then review it and then sign it. Right now it's so much easier. You can just working in the beach or working at home, open your notebook to see, review it, to see what the experiment going on. And then if something wrong, you can write comments about it. If everything good, you can just approve it directly. So this just make the whole procedure so much easy. And then one other thing I want to touch base. So since we still have a little bit more time, and then it's about the widgets. Like there's all different kind of widgets we currently developed. So I would like to show you what kind of functionalities we already developed at. So this will open a second slides. So far we have more than 100 widgets. And then maybe in the future, we're going to open this kind of widget development to the public. Like you and your team can develop your own widget to meet your own requirements. And then the first category is about Office. So we already put in a lot of time to develop the widget to replace the Word document or the Excel, which means you can change all of this directly online from your laptop, from your tablet or cell phone. So we have a rich text widget, which like as you see over here, and it can basically just support all the Word documents, including the images, pictures, tables, all different kind of thing. There are different kind of format, like for example, on the right side, this one does not have the toolbar, and then you need to select the text. This is a little bit lighter compared to the previous one. And then we also have a plain text, like this is usually for the developers if they want it even lighter, and then they know how to write down the markdown. So this is a markdown support. You write down like some text like this, and it will display the right format for you, just like on the right side. And then of course we support all the table functions, like including the pictures. So such formulas, everything is supported. It also supports many different tabs. So you can just add more tabs. And mostly importantly, it's fully compatible with the Excel, which means whenever you just import an Excel file, it can read all the content inside, including all the formulas, all the pictures. So that's very convenient. And then besides this widget, we're also supporting some other table widget. And also currently in the market, the table widget is very limited, but this is everything available. So we all supported them, but the interface is a little bit different. The functionality is also a little bit different. Like some of these does not support the formula, others does not have this kind of menu. But basically the first one is most we recommended you to do is a fully functional, but others just for based on purpose. For example, this JXL is mostly being used for the 96 well because it's very light. And then in case of our files widget, we also improve it a lot. So basically, there are many different kind of improvement include, like you can show the column data and hide the column data directly. So which means every single metadata associated with the file, you can see it directly. For the pictures, you may have some legend, so you can show and change it directly. You can hide the preview like over here, which means sometimes also you have a lot of files uploaded. You don't want to see the preview because to loading a preview is very slow. Sometimes you have maybe 100 PDFs uploaded. You don't want to show the preview, so which means you can hide the preview directly. And then you can also edit this file. There are two different kind of editing. Like once you click, let's edit over here, which means you can change the file content. Let's edit over here, which means you can change the file version, like which version of the file you want to display. Of course, you can download it directly, and then to do the further changes. If you open this files widget from your cell phone, and then the interface will be a little bit different. If you click it, it will give you this kind of interface, which means it enable you to taking pictures or record the videos at real time and then upload it to our system. So that's about the files widget. As you see over here, this is edit. You can choose in different version. We're using version because we're fully compatible with the FDA 21 CFR Part 11. So make sure whenever you log this document, and then we will only use that particular version of the file. Even you in the future you change the file, that particular version will be always used. So we will keep a copy of the choose. On the right side is like that's how you're able to see when you're uploading different files. You can actually just upload like 100 files at the same time. The number is actually not limited. Just jog all the files that you want to upload it, and then it will start uploading one by one directly from your laptop. And then this is what I see. If you want to show the column data, you're able to see the column on the left side. If you want to see the preview, you're able to see the preview on the right side. And then we supported some previews for different kind of file types. This is the file type we currently supported. We supported the pictures, video files, text files, tabular data, PDF, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and the Plasmid. And we'll continually adding more support in the future. And besides that, in case of one other category of Office is the joining like features, which means if you're using iPad, you can draw some structure directly. We have this kind of joining widget, enable you to just add annotations to any pictures you want to change. And then this is also version controlled, which means whenever you save, you're still able to see the original pictures directly inside the system. So this is joining function. Okay. And we are totally supported the Microsoft Office and the Google Sheet. Let me see over here, the G Sheet and the Microsoft Office. But this field widget is being deprecated. The reason for that is they do not allow us to store the data inside our own system. They want all the data stored in the Microsoft itself, and then that make it very difficult to control the files and the versions. So we are thinking about to remove it and then just replace the other widgets that as I just show you. Like for example, you can use our this kind of Excel widget directly to replace the Microsoft Excel. And then moving on, the second category is about the productivity. And then the first one, you can insert the table of content. Some of the testing, it will contain a lot of sections. So you can say if you have one table of content, it's always clickable to help you find the one particular files you want to find. And the second one is about column. So you can use this column to display any column data for any record. This on the left side is actually the same ways. It's just like how you want to display it differently. You can customize to display two columns, string columns, or any other columns. This is being used a lot to generate the report. On the right side is just basically the comment on the default display. You can also display the metadata for one particular sample, like for example, the age 26, gender male, so all of that can be displayed inside or associated with the samples. We also have a backlink. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to understand what exactly is a backlink. So I will give you one quick example. Say the samples is using some particular protocol with the foreign key. So this sample is using this protocol, so it can be linked in this way. But if in a protocol, what samples are using it? So if you want to see a list using the backlink, so this will, at the protocol, it will point back to the samples. So that's what you see, like backlink can display all the samples associated with it. So that's the backlink. And Labii also comes with a staging flowchart, which means like if you have many different kind of stage working from step one to the last step, you can actually using this workflow to display the steps for you directly. And then the other one is the relationship flowchart, like for in case of ontology samples relationship, that all can be used the same widget. There's a location map to show different kind of locations, and then where is different things being stored inside of different locations. And then we also have the step function, which means inside the step function, you can check in who finished which step at what time, and which steps still need to be done. Additional comments can be added for every single step. And then there's a section citation. So section citation, let me give you a little bit explanation. Like for example, we have a protocol, have 4 sections. And then in the experiment, you want to say, I want to set this protocol, display it, because you don't want to rewrite the same protocol again. In that case, inside of this particular section, you can display all this, like over here, you can display 3 sections. Actually, you can display 4 sections. So the number of sections you want to display can be customized. So a screenshot showing over here, actually this showing the data of this particular experiment, at which version, inside this experiment, it have this kind of thing. So in this case, it's very convenient to display data from a protocol or display the steps from the protocol inside of your notebook. And then some other communication tools we have, you can send out emails in from our system directly. You can write the comments, and then sometimes you just want to document like what's going on, and then just putting it into the comments directly. And we also fully support the label, barcode, QR code, which means you can print it out very conveniently. And then we support all different kind of barcode or QR code printers. It also comes with the to-do list. And then this is the calendar. Like for some of the experiments, it may take several days to finish. You can just insert a calendar widget, just mark the first day you're doing this, second day you're doing this, or that can be just filled directly inside of your calendar widgets. This is scheduling widget, as I explained before. So just usually use this scheduling widget to schedule the equipment of usage. And we also come with this moment. This moment is actually just a function to generate the flowchart. It can be any different kind of flowchart. I do see some of the customers, they're using this one to just display a protocol in this kind of flowchart way. They want to say the first step to do what, second step to do what. Also, it's very similar to our workflow, but in their purpose, at that, they just want to see like a big picture how to perform this kind of protocol. And then this is the workflow. The difference between the workflow and the flow chart is that you can control each of the step. You can mark one step as complete, and then there's the actions associated with each of the steps, whether it's finished or not. So you can control it directly. So this is a workflow widget also being supported. It also comes with a virtual timer. Sometimes you say, I don't have timer, so does not matter. You can insert a timer into your notebook, and then you can check in it directly. And then we also have some functions associated with regulation. For example, we have many different kind of signature widget for you to co-sign with your colleagues. So to sign it, you just need to put in some comment. Comment is optional. Put in your login password and your signature, and then click submit. It will be signed directly inside the system. We have version control, and then whenever you made a change, it will create a new version, contain all the data inside the system. And then you can always restore back to an older version. And then all of this we already made it to meet the regulation requirement. And in the Labii, we also introduced the blockchain technology to make sure each version is actually one of the block. They linked together, they cross-validate each other. If one of the version is a block, which means this check will become the red, and then it does not pass this block check. And it also comes with all the activities, like it's actually the audit trail, like I'm checking who is did what's the before value, what's the after value, everything can be seen directly from here. And then we also have some biology associated with the functions. First one, like we introduce a lot of well plate, which means like if you're trying to design some well plate, it can be very convenient just using this well plate directly. And then we also have function to help you to do the sample aliquoting, which means you just need to tell the system how many aliquots you need, and then just click submit. It will create all the aliquots for you, and then it can mark which aliquot is already used, which aliquot is already still available. So that's how to create the sample aliquots. And then the Labii also comes with the OpenField edited widget, which this enables you to change all the plasmid features. You can add one of the feature, delete feature, add the parameters, all different kind of things can be designed inside the system. You can also download it as a GenBank files once you've finished, but you can like always store the data inside the Labii. That's also working. This is the initial data analysis as you showed it before. Currently, we support both standard curve and then dot response curve directly inside the system. And then for the chemical functions, we're able to transform different kind of chemical format from one format to the other format directly inside the system. We also enable you to join different kind of functions, including the reactions. And then there are many different kind of widgets available. Like this is just a Marvin.js, enable you to join directly. If you already have a SMLs file, it can display the structure for you directly. And then we also support the substrate search and similarity search. Just click this button, it can perform the search directly. So this is, as what I said, it's a substrate search, similarity search. And then this is the referencing functions, like this is the PMID, as I mentioned before. We also support the citations. Sometimes if you have a protocol, you want to list different kind of papers that you are using, and then just put in the PMID, it can display in this way. And you can also generate a report. Actually, this report is very sophisticated. It's also one of the widget. You can report, say, based on how, based on different tables, like over here, just like example showed you, or based on different project, different person, different time range, you can just see the result based on a low count, or just want to see the result based on one particular column. You can average it, summarize it. So all that can be done with this one single widget. So all the report can be generated inside the system. And then with that, and one other thing, I just want to say, like, there's a few testimonials, people talking to us. Then let's Layeli from the Ohio State University said, any complications, whether it's a glitch in the system or user misunderstanding, I have had a great level of the responsiveness and professionalism to my concerns from the Labii team. And then we also have the Joshua from Choose Genomics said, I'm so grateful for the Labii support team for all their help with the LIMS system. The Labii team is knowledgeable, courteous, and always ready to lend a helping hand. The Labii team has made my experience with this software very personable. Thank you. And also we have Ashwin from the Jupiter Therapeutics, actually located in MBC BioLabs. He said Labii decreased the time spending on the data organization. And Jane from the Rival Biotechnology, also located in MBC BioLabs, said Labii is highly flexible and has many features such as audit trail and experiment documentation that helps us maintain high quality standards and keep track of our laboratory operations. The email support is also very helpful for more advanced assistance such as SDK API questions and software development. And then it says all from me, and then I'm open to taking any questions you guys might have.